Welcome, ladies, to my woods. This is where I go off and try to shoot videos when I have the chance. So recently, I've had some Jehovah Witness ladies coming to the house, and they've been coming pretty regularly. This is probably their fourth or fifth time, and it's very interesting. They come right in the mid morning. Weekdays, and they're trying to, of course, talk to me about their doctrine. I was right off the bat wanting to know the differences in their doctrine. Of course, it took them like till the fourth or fifth visit to tell me they actually don't believe that Jesus is God. That's a pretty big deal. I would have probably preferred if they had let off with that, but so it's been interesting to get a little bit of adult conversation for me during the day and a little bit of a debate, which I don't normally have anymore. Definitely fell out of habit with the debating my husband. That never went well. So, it's really making me ponder, first of all, doctrine. Second of all, the fact that these people are visiting women in their homes during the week. It seems very telling to me, and it reminds me of a passage in 2 Timothy. It's 2 Timothy chapter 3, and I'd like to read it to you just real quick. It's talking about in the last days, in the end times, and about the false prophets that will be around. And it says in verse 6, "For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women, laden with sins, led away with divers lusts, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth." Now, if that doesn't sound like these Jehovah Witnesses, I'm not sure what does. Quick Google search is 2/3 of them are women. That's interesting to me. It's interesting to me that they come to my home when my husband's at work and try to convince me of their differences in their doctrine. Now, we've only touched the iceberg of what their differences are, that being, they believe God's name is Jehovah, and they believe that Jesus is not God. So, these are just the surface, and I think it gets a little bit weirder and crazier the more you get into it. Something about Jesus starting to reign in the kingdom of heaven in 1914, I think, is what I read on one site. So I'll have to ask them about that next time. But my main takeaway was, if I'm not steady and unwavering in my loyalty to my husband, I could be led away by these people easily, because they're good at what they do, right? They've been taught and they've been schooled in how to convince people and to deceive people. Whether they realize it or not, I'm sure these women are very meaning. They're meaning well. They're not evil out to get you kind of types, and I'm sure that they've had the wool pulled over their eyes just as much as they're trying to do to others, but it solidifies for me the reason why women need to be led by their husbands, and it really comes naturally to women. It comes naturally to want to be led, and to want to follow, and I'm afraid that a lot of the times, if they're not getting what they think they want from their husbands as far as spiritual leadership, they go off and they find other either men in the church, pastors, televangelists, and what have you, to latch onto and to follow rather than following their husband, and that can be detrimental. And I think that the 2/3 Jehovah Witnesses being women is kind of a testament to that. And as I'm talking to my husband about this, I'm realizing that's the main takeaway, is that these women that are coming to my home want to turn me against my husband. I mean, and that's basic. You know, they're wanting to convince me of a difference in doctrine that he does not believe. And, you know, because I'm his wife, I'm following his lead on spiritual matters. And so it's really eerie when you stop and think about it. And I just wanted to drive home today that if you're a woman, and I'm afraid, you know, that when I talk in these talks that, you know, I'm not including all the exceptions, and I know that there are so many exceptions. You know, there's widows, there's women who are divorced, and, you know, they're kind of out on their own, and I understand all that. You know, that's hard. You know, there are things about God's system and God's ways that are hard and hard to explain. But I guess I'm talking about a married woman who's in a semi-normal circumstance. You know, I mean, whether her husband is studying the Bible every day or not, that's kind of irrelevant. But what is relevant is she following his lead, and is she taking the moral high ground? Is she thinking she's the one that's more morally superior to her husband or not? And so we need to always make sure that we're being humble, and that we're following our husband's leads as far as spiritual matters are concerned, so we don't fall into this trap of being led away captive. You know, these silly women that 2 Timothy is talking about. I remember one of my best professors in college, he had thrown it out there one lesson on, it was like the Children's Crusades or something, but it was the famous beware of soft-shoed shufflers. And, you know, I had to go home and I had to look that one up, but it blew my mind that he was quoting George Harrison. But anyways, beware of soft-shoed shufflers. Don't be led away captive. Stay grounded in the Word. Stay on in the same level as your husband. Don't try to get over him or around him. You take your cues from him. He's the leader. But anyways, thank you so much, ladies. I hope that I wasn't too all over the place with this, but I really want to start getting into this routine of the first and third Wednesdays. We'll make it a Women's Wednesdays video. Y'all take care.